Imagine this. Just last month, my cousin Samir is flying back to the US after spending 2 unforgettable weeks in India for his sister's wedding. He's exhausted but happy, carrying memories of laughter, family, and celebration. 5 days of non-stop dancing, endless plates of biryani, and the kind of family chaos that only happens when everyone's under one roof. Pure classic Indian wedding energy. Samir's been living in the States for 6 years now, working as a software engineer in Austin. He's on an H-1B visa, building his career, making friends, and carving out a life in Texas. He's got a lease on a downtown apartment, a car he loves, and a favorite taco spot he swears is the best in the city. He's as American as you can get, except for the passport. So when he lands at JFK, he expects the usual routine: show his passport, answer a couple of questions, get the entry stamp, and head home. But this time, something's different. The officer keeps typing and typing. The seconds stretch into minutes, and Samir starts to feel uneasy. Then comes the dreaded phrase, "Step aside for secondary inspection." His heart sinks. If you're an immigrant, those words are pure nightmare fuel. Suddenly, everything feels uncertain. Hours pass in a cold, sterile room. No explanations, no updates. His phone buzzes with "Welcome home," texts from family and friends, but he can't reply. He's stuck in limbo. Finally, an officer sits down and starts talking about new re-entry protocols, mentioning something called the Secure Traveler Act of 2025. It's all news to Samir. Samir's completely lost. He just came from a wedding, not a secret mission. He has no idea what's happening or why. They tell him his visa needs further review. He's not being deported, but he's not being let in either. He's trapped in a kind of legal no man's land, and he's not the only one. Across the country, people who have built their lives here, students, workers, parents, are suddenly finding the door locked behind them with no warning. They followed every rule, paid their taxes, visited family abroad, and now re-entry feels like a roll of the dice. The system they trusted has changed overnight. For so many, the place they call home just got a lot harder to get back into. The sense of belonging is suddenly fragile. This is the new reality for millions of non-citizens, people who contribute, who belong, but who now face uncertainty at every border crossing. What used to be routine travel is now a high-stakes risk, with lives and futures hanging in the balance. The rules changed overnight, and almost no one got the memo. Confusion and fear ripple through airports everywhere. Samir's story is just one of thousands. Every day, more people are caught in this web of new regulations and uncertainty. The American dream now comes with a bureaucratic maze at the border, a test of patience, luck, and paperwork. So what's really going on with these new re-entry rules? Why are so many people suddenly at risk of being locked out? Why is it suddenly so hard to come home, even for those who did everything right? Let's break it down and see what's changed. Because for millions, this isn't just a policy shift. It's their entire life on hold, their future in question, and their sense of security shaken. And the truth is, it could happen to anyone. Anyone who calls this place home, but doesn't have the right piece of paper. America's obsession with its borders is deeply rooted in its history and identity. This fascination isn't just a recent phenomenon, it's been evolving for centuries, shaping the nation's policies, culture, and even its sense of self. On one hand, the Statue of Liberty stands as a beacon of hope, famously declaring, "Give me your tired, your poor." It's a symbol of open arms and new beginnings, representing the American dream that has drawn millions from around the world. On the other hand, there's a physical wall, strict checkpoints, and a mountain of paperwork, barriers that make entry anything but simple. The contrast between the ideal and the reality is striking. For decades, the US welcomed almost anyone who survived the journey across oceans or borders. The promise of opportunity was real for many, and the country grew rapidly as a result. But by the late 1800s, attitudes shifted. Laws like the Chinese Exclusion Act began to filter who could come in, introducing the idea that not everyone was welcome. This marked the start of a more selective approach. Ellis Island, once a symbol of hope, became more of a filter than just a welcome center. Immigrants faced medical exams, interviews, and the constant fear of being turned away. Over time, quotas and new rules made the system increasingly complex, favoring some nationalities and backgrounds while excluding others. The process became a maze of regulations and uncertainty. After 9/11, everything changed. Security became the top priority, and the focus shifted from opportunity to threat assessment. Borders were no longer just lines on a map. They became front lines in a global effort to keep the country safe. The border is now a place of intense scrutiny, with patrol agents, surveillance cameras, and advanced technology all working to monitor who comes and goes. The new 2025 re-entry rules are just the latest chapter in a long history of tightening control. Each new regulation adds another layer to an already complex system. Every new policy stacks on decades of old ones, creating a web of laws that reflect changing fears, hopes, and priorities. For the government, it's about balancing security, the economy, and public opinion. Immigration policy is a constant debate, shaped by politics and global events. For immigrants, it's an ever-changing obstacle course, one that requires patience, resilience, and sometimes a bit of luck to navigate. And right now, with new rules and heightened scrutiny, the course just got a lot harder. The story of America's borders is still being written, and for many, the journey is far from over. Non-citizen isn't just one group, it's a whole ecosystem. Green card holders, students, tech workers, artists, athletes, investors, refugees, the list goes on. Each group has its own rules, rights, and risks. Green card holders can live and work here, but can't vote and must renew their status. Students and workers on temporary visas, like Samir, are vital to universities and industries. There are also agricultural workers, entertainers, and more, each with a different visa, key. Asylum seekers and refugees are here legally, but in limbo. When re-entry rules change, it's not just a few people affected, it's millions. These are our colleagues, neighbors, classmates, and family. They're woven into American life. But none of them have a guaranteed way back in. The stakes are high for everyone, and the new rules hit all of them. Here's what's new: the Secure Traveler Act of 2025. Now, every non-citizen faces continuous and dynamic vetting, not just when you get your visa, but every time you travel. Every re-entry triggers a fresh background check: financials, social media, job changes, everything. Even a minor change or a critical tweet can flag you for secondary inspection. Officers now have more power to deny entry based on future risk, even if you've never used public benefits. The old rule letting some travelers re-enter from Canada or Mexico with an expired visa, gone. Now every trip could mean a new visa appointment. The process is more subjective, more unpredictable, and a lot more stressful. A quick trip abroad can turn into a bureaucratic nightmare. So what's it like now? It's a bureaucratic triathlon. First, you pre-register your travel plans online, uploading your itinerary, job or school docs, and more. At the airport, the system does a real-time data sweep. Any mismatch can trigger a flag. More people are being sent to secondary inspection, not for wrongdoing, but because the system is hypersensitive. In secondary, you might wait for hours, unlock your phone, answer questions about your life. Officers decide if you're in or out. No lawyer, no appeal. If denied, you're on the next flight out. Your job, home, and life in the US, all at risk. The process is confusing, stressful, and final, and it's happening to more people every day. These rules aren't just policy, they're splitting families and upending lives. Green card holders now risk not returning if they visit sick parents abroad. Many feel trapped, afraid to leave even for emergencies. H-1B workers face delays that can derail projects and careers. Top talent may choose other countries over the US. International students worry about missing semesters or losing scholarships if flagged. The ripple effect hits couples, artists, seasonal workers, everyone. The system was meant for security, but it's creating fear and instability. It's like a security system so sensitive it locks you out for changing your haircut. Millions are paying the price. The government says this is about modern security, catching threats before they happen. They argue continuous vetting closes loopholes and keeps the country safe. Officials claim most travelers won't be affected, and delays are worth the security. But for immigrants, it feels like being treated as suspects in their own homes. They're already heavily vetted. Fingerprints, interviews, background checks. Now it's constant monitoring, opaque algorithms, and no transparency. If you're flagged, you may never know why. There's no clear appeal, and the criteria can be vague or abused. Advocacy groups warn this creates an invisible wall, making legal immigration harder and more stressful. For many, it's not security, it's exclusion. If you have to travel, preparation is everything. The more you plan ahead, the more control you'll have over your journey, even when things feel uncertain or overwhelming. Make a re-entry packet. Gather employer or school letters, pay stubs, your lease, and anything else that proves your ties to the U.S. Include both digital and paper copies, and keep them organized and easy to access. This packet can be your lifeline if you're questioned or need to prove your status. Scrub your social media and make sure all your records match: address, job, everything. Inconsistent information can raise red flags, so double-check every detail. Update your profiles and documents so they tell a consistent story about your life and plans. If you can, consult an immigration lawyer before you go, especially if your case is complicated or you have any doubts. A lawyer can spot issues you might miss and give you advice tailored to your situation, which can be invaluable. Know what to do at the border. Stay calm, answer only what's asked, and don't sign anything you don't understand. Never sign a form I-407 unless you're absolutely sure, as it can end your residency and your right to return. CBP can search your phone and other electronic devices. Refusing to comply can mean denial of entry. Make sure your devices are clean and only contain information you're comfortable sharing. The system is tough and the process can feel intimidating, but being prepared can make a real difference. Confidence and organization go a long way. Don't volunteer extra information and know your limited rights. Only answer what's asked and remember you don't have to explain more than necessary. If you're stuck, having a lawyer's number on hand can help you get advice quickly. Don't hesitate to call if you feel unsure or pressured. It's not fair and it can feel overwhelming, but unfortunately, this is the reality many travelers face today. You're not alone in this. Preparation is your best defense. Take the time to get ready, and you'll give yourself the best possible chance for a smooth journey. These rules aren't just a travel headache, they're a shift in how America sees immigrants. The message: even if you follow every rule, your place here is never secure. This risks a brain drain. Top talent may go elsewhere for stability. The US could lose its edge in innovation and culture. It also erodes the melting pot, creating a permanent underclass never fully accepted. How can people invest in a country that keeps them on edge? The future depends on the choices we make now. Will America become a fortress, or find a balance between security and welcome? The debate isn't just about visas, it's about the country's identity. And right now, that debate is playing out in the cold rooms of secondary inspection.